Today, for the first time since the beginning of the war, Russia has issued a missile alert as far as 2,000 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. By the morning, it became known that on the night of May 5, the armed forces of Ukraine struck a Russian defense plant in Cheboksary using Flamingo cruise missiles. The missiles traveled more than 1,500 kilometers and hit the designated target. At the same time, it is known that the Flamingo missiles struck the Progress plant, which is located about 1,000 kilometers from the border with Ukraine and produces components for Shahed drones as well as for Iskander and Caliber missiles, among others. And this attack showed that Ukraine finally has long-range ballistic missiles capable of hitting targets at such truly enormous distances. And right now, there is real panic in Russia. Since the Victory Day parade on May 9 is just around the corner, and mind you, a missile alert was even declared in the Khanty-Mansiysk region. And that's, the center of Western Siberia, which means that Ukraine can reach almost the entire territory of Russia. And not with drones, but specifically with missiles. And just to note, beyond that, there are only the almost empty regions of Eastern Siberia and Yakutia. I'm Alexei Pechi. Let's discuss this topic. But before we start, please subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and leave any comment under this video. This is very important for promoting content on YouTube, and I will be grateful to you for that. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, in this video you saw the launch of long-range Ukrainian Flamingo missiles at several enemy targets, including a defense plant in Cheboksary. And, as the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, stated, quote, "Last night there were combat launches of F-5 Flamingo cruise missiles as part of the armed forces deep strike operation against several enemy targets, in particular against military-industrial complex facilities in Cheboksary." The Ukrainian Flamingos covered a distance of more than 1,500 kilometers. The targeted military facility was producing relay protection systems, automation, and low-voltage equipment. The plant supplied navigation components for the Russian Navy, the missile industry, aviation, and armored vehicles. Now, let's go through everything step by step. So, on the night of May 5th, at least 18 regions of Russia declared not just an air raid alert, but specifically a missile threat. Moreover, one of the regions where a missile threat was declared is located 2,000 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. In particular, that night, for the first time, a missile threat was declared in the Khanty-Mansiysk Autonomous Okrug. It is noteworthy that this region is located 2,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. And beyond that, there is only Eastern Siberia and Yakutia, where, well, there aren't that many important military facilities. It is noted that missile warnings also affected Astrakhan, Bryansk, Kaluga, Kurgan, Nizhny Novgorod, Orenburg, Oryol, Sverdlovsk, Tula, and Chelyabinsk regions, as well as Penza, Bashkortostan, Mordovia, Tatarstan, Udmurtia, and Perm Krai. In total, on the evening and night of May 4th to 5th, restrictions were introduced at 18 airports in Russia, in particular in Volgograd, Izhevsk, Kazan, and Nizhnekamsk. Nizhny Novgorod, Orenburg, Orsk, Penza, Perm, Pskov, Samara, Saratov, Tambov, Ulyanovsk, Ufa, Cheboksary, Cherepovets, and Yaroslavl. And I emphasize once again, this is all because of an attack using only Ukrainian missiles. By the way, the governor of the Leningrad region, Yaroslav Alexander Drozdov, wrote on his social media that air defense forces allegedly shot down 18 unidentified drones. At the same time, a fire broke out in the industrial zone in Kirishi. And as it became known later, an oil refinery there was attacked, which eventually stopped its operations. But still, the epicenter of the missile threat in Russia became the city of Cheboksary in the Chuvash Republic of the Russian Federation. And according to posts from OSINT channels, the near progress plant was hit by missiles, after which a fire broke out there. This enterprise manufactures navigation equipment and components for drones, as well as for cruise and ballistic missiles. And now let's discuss what is known about this plant. I should note right away that, as they say, this is indeed a high-value target. The Progress plant is located about 1,000 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. The plant is part of the ABS Electro-Industrial Group. It manufactures GNSS receivers and antennas for satellite systems like GLONASS, GPS, and Galileo for the Russian army. In particular, Kometa-type modules are produced there. They are actively used in unmanned aerial vehicles, including kamikaze drones like Shahed, as well as in missiles of the Iskander-M and Kalibr systems, and in glide kits for aerial bombs. In addition, the plant at NIIR Progress produces electrical equipment, in particular circuit breakers, relays, and contactless modules. They are supplied to the Russian Navy, including for the Yasen M-class nuclear submarines. And now it's amusing to watch how Russia has basically become, wide open because elements of the Russian air defense have been pulled back to Moscow. Well, they have to protect Vladimir Putin's backside there, while leaving enemy Russian targets defenseless against Ukrainian attacks. It's important to note here that the plant was hit specifically by a Flamingo missile. Let me remind you that last year, Ukraine announced the development of its own long-range Flamingo missile, capable of striking at distances of up to 3,000 kilometers. Thus, almost all targets in the European part of Russia and in the Urals are within its range. Mass production of the missile was supposed to begin in January or February of this year, but it is still unknown whether that has happened. Nevertheless, the developer company Firepoint stated that they plan to produce up to 7 missiles per day. Well, that amounts to 2,555 missiles per year. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation first reported the interception of a Flamingo missile in February of this year. Before that, the Russian Defense Ministry reported the destruction of workshops where these missiles were assembled. According to the report for May 5, Russia's air defenses on duty allegedly shot down 6 Flamingo missiles. Nevertheless, some of the missiles definitely hit their targets, even at such a great distance. But at the same time, Ukraine continues drone attacks on Russia. And today, for the first time, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine publicly assessed the damage from the attacks on the Tuapse oil refinery. The General Staff stated that as a result of a series of complex strikes carried out by units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces during April and on May, one significant damage to port infrastructure facilities in Tuapse was recorded. The damage inflicted on the Tuapse oil refinery is noted separately. The damage affected key elements of the facility, which impacted its operations. The total losses caused to the port infrastructure and the oil refinery are estimated at more than 300 million. In what currency? The large fire at the oil refinery in Tuapse, which occurred after the drone raid on April 16, was accompanied by the formation of a dense plume of smoke that spread over a considerable distance and, according to recorded data, reached the territory of Stavropol. After the attack on April 20, the loss of 24 oil tanks was confirmed and another 4 were damaged. In Tuapse, Russia was once again hit by drones. And as you can imagine, this is already the 4th attack in a short period to have serious consequences. Basically, Russia is now being hit just about anywhere and in any way. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support this YouTube channel, I would of course be grateful. You can do this with any donation or paid channel membership using the links and details in the description of this video or by using the QR code on your screen. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.